The judge in the case says the special counsel has made a prima facie case of criminality involving Trump. Prima facie, Latin, always makes it sound weighty, right? But what does it mean? It means at first look, meaning that this is an initial showing, and a showing that could be rebutted by further proof. But it is enough that Trump may have intentionally misled even his lawyers about what he knew he had. And because of that, the judge ruled attorney-client privilege has been waived and prosecutors are being given access to texts and other communications between Trump and his attorney. And the fact that Trump is again crying foul and casting blame for another new development, that's him playing the game. So you got to be careful. And we're going to discuss how this new development changes things. The idea that, oh, well, it's just one bad judge. No, it isn't. The appellate panel, which is a 3-judge bank, denied a stay, means they justified the ruling. So there's a lot of judges involved. Let's discuss, though, what it means and what it doesn't mean and why. All right? Trump's former defense attorney, former federal prosecutor who led the Office of the Independent Counsel from 1999 to 2002, Mr. Robert Ray, joins us. Good to see you, Counselor.
Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
You surprised by this?
No. I mean, the government is aggressive, as you know, they often should be. They're not always right, but they're aggressive in pursuing evidence before a grand jury. If they think that the lawyer was used as a conduit to provide false information to the government about what the former president knew, they're seeking to bust the attorney-client privilege with the crime-fraud exception. And as you correctly point out, they have a minimal showing to make, which is a prima facie showing. It doesn't mean, despite all of the hysterics over this, that a crime has been shown to have been committed, but it does allow the government now access before the grand jury to the attorney's notes and other things that the attorney may have, the attorney being Evan Corcoran.
Right.
And, you know, without knowing what's in those notes, it's really hard to say how significant it is. It may be significant, and it may turn out not to be, you know, what I guess the media expects, which is some sort of smoking gun that will lead to a prosecution involving classified documents. But the special counsel's taken the step, and it's obviously one directed toward the former president and this investigation to determine whether a crime was committed.
Now, I've been coming at it from the opposite direction with both President Biden and former President Trump. My supposition has been, from everything I know about both of these men, I don't think they'd have any clue what they took out of their offices. I mean, I wasn't surprised that a box of documents was found right next to Biden's vet in the garage. And I would be very surprised that Donald Trump had any kind of understanding of what documents had been taken, what their level of classification status was, and that he knew they were there and was hiding them, but in the basement at Mar-a-Lago. Does that kind of square with what you understand about the man and his practices?
You know, again, Chris, without knowing, I mean, yeah, you could be right, but the question is, there were obviously statements that were made to the government through the lawyers that I guess
there was a certification. So they sent him a piece of paper saying, hey, tell us what you have. And there were all of these, you know, there were all these statements in it, as you say, about what wasn't there and what they had and what they didn't have. And that now they're saying, well, Trump signed it or was part of a party, it was a party to it, and now they want to know, did he know what was in that document that you guys gave us about what you said was there and what wasn't? And that's going to be the basis of them saying, well, then he lied?
Right, and you know, it's not going to be all that helpful to them that they can prove that whatever the lawyer told them wasn't true if the point of the investigation by the special counsel is to determine what information the former president himself actually communicated. The only way to know that is that he had some discussion with somebody, and of course the first thing on the horizon there for prosecutors is to see if they can bust the attorney-client privilege to get at what the former president told his lawyers. And so that's what this is about. Now, but that doesn't necessarily tell you that what he told his lawyers was, you know, true or untrue. It just means that there's a basis for for the government to look, and that's now been sanctioned by both the judge who supervises the grand jury and now by the appellate court, the D.C. Circuit.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.